My name is Daniel. I'm working on how marijuana can create addiction.
Hi, I'm Daisy. I'm working on how marijuana works in the brain.
Hi, my name is Marissa, and I'll be working on the names and the costs of marijuana.
Hi, my name is Paige. I'm going to be working on the physical history of marijuana from colonial times till present.
Hello, my name is William, and I will be doing the legality and societal issues.
Hello, my name is Daniel. I'm here to talk a little bit about how marijuana can create addiction, including the risk of addiction to it. Marijuana dependence occurs when the brain adapts to a large amount of drug by reducing production of and sensitivity to its own endocannabinoid neurotransmitter. Marijuana can use disorder become addiction when which is psychological dependency when a person cannot stop using the drug even though it's interfere with many aspects of his or her life. Hello again. This shows the risk associated with marijuana use. People who smoke marijuana once on occasion still have acute adverse effects such as impaired short-term memory, impaired attention, judgment, and other cognitive function, impaired coordination and balance, increased heart rate, and anxiety. But in the long term, people who use marijuana persistently have risk of potential for marijuana addiction, impairments in learning and memory with potential loss of IQ, increased risk of chronic cough, bronchitis, increased risk of other drug and alcohol use disorder.
Hi, everybody. My name is Daisy, and I am doing the how does marijuana work in the brain. As some of us know, or all of us know, marijuana is usually smoked. Currently, nowadays, you could do a lot of things with marijuana. You could bake with it, cook with it. I mean, I think the list is endless. This is your brain on drugs. No, I'm just kidding. But this is a very nice picture where it shows your brain and all of its components. Usually, when marijuana is smoked, marijuana has two key components, which is a THC, CBD. When it's smoked, people like the wonderful effects of THC because that's what gets them high. And of course, there's other people that kind of use it for medical purposes, and that's where CBD comes from. It helps a lot with, nausea, vomiting with chemotherapy patients. Hi guys, I'm going to quickly talk about the endocannabinoid system. This one system, it's a system that a lot of the researchers don't totally understand, but they do know that it has to do something with how marijuana and its ingredients, its contents, like the CBD and the THC that is contained or is in marijuana, how that affects our neurons and how we respond to the marijuana if we smoke it or if anybody smokes it. So what happens is that the endocannabinoids, and these are molecules, receptors that are a part of this system. So what they do is that they travel in opposite directions. So when a message passes from one of the neurons to the next, the receiving neuron it releases endocannabinoids, and those endocannabinoids travel backwards, and this is in order to influence the sending neuron, essentially giving it feedback from the receiving neuron. And then this has led the scientists to kind of know or believe that these the endocannabinoid system serves to modulate other kinds of signals, which means that it amplified some and diminishing others.
Hello, class. My name is Marissa Garcia, and I will be going over marijuana's different names and then also the different costs to purchase this drug. So here's a picture of just a few of the different ways that patients can consume marijuana. Medical marijuana is sold in a variety of forms. They can be smoked, vaporized, eaten, and used in drinks. So here's a list consists of just a few of the names that marijuana can be called. The most common are usually things like pot, weed, cannabis, Mary Jane, and herb. The price of marijuana is influenced by a couple of things, such as how it is grown, whether that be inside or outside, and whether it's processed for extraction of the THC for those who do not like smoking and they want the edibles or the liquid forms of it. Because the machines that have to extract the THC from the flower can sometimes be extremely expensive. Just like this picture shown of the CO2 extraction machine, they can range from up to $450,000. So the sellers are going to have to make up that price difference. Costs of the drugs are also dependent on how they are being used. So, for example, if somebody wants to just smoke the drug, they can buy a gram between $5 to $20. If they want to have just a small dose of an edible, it could range from $2 to $5. For tinctures, which are the liquid form, they can actually put this in their drinks or they can cook with these oils of marijuana. The bottles usually range between $15 to $50, depending on the strength. And then also when you're going to smoke the drug, it depends on which kind of device you're going to use. So it can cost as little as $2 for a piece of paper for one joint, or it can also cost $700 for a vaporizer to consume the medication.
Hi, my name is Paige Tara. I'm going to be going over the physical history of marijuana. Initially, it was used during the colonial times for hemp. Hemp was used for ship sails and clothes. In fact, in 1797, the USS Constitution had ordered 50 tons of the product, hemp, for its sails, and since then it began to rise in popularity for clothing. It was also used in the early manufacturing of denim. After the Civil War, it became increasingly popular for use in medications. Right, and then in the early 1900s, recreational use of marijuana, again, marijuana, not hemp, began to rise. In the early 1930s, as prohibition was ending, marijuana began to be painted as the new drug of evil, and then from the late 1930s to the early 2010s, marijuana has been illegal in.
Hello everyone. My name is William Makato and I will be doing the history of marijuana use. So marijuana wasn't actually widely used recreationally until the early 1900s. It was introduced to American culture by immigrants from Mexico, but during the Great Depression, massive unemployment fueled and stoked resentment of these Mexican immigrants and fear of evil weed. Combine that with Prohibition era's view of intoxicants in general, by 1931, 29 states had outlawed cannabis. The Marijuana Tax Act of 1937 was the first federal U.S. law to criminalize marijuana. It imposed an excise tax, which basically criminalized all use of marijuana. The Controlled Substances Act of 1970 was signed into law by then-President Richard Nixon, which repealed Marijuana Tax Act, but it listed marijuana as a Schedule I drug, which basically means that it has no medical use and it has a high potential for abuse. Our state of California was the first state in the union to legalize the medicinal use of marijuana with the Compassionate Use Act of 1996. Marijuana is a hot topic today in American politics. There's a big debate over the legalization of it, with advocates saying that it brings in revenue, it creates jobs, and that legalization actually combats incarceration, which has disproportionately affected communities of color. But critics say that there are health consequences and that legalization doesn't reduce the black market. There's a larger issue that isn't specific to marijuana, but all substance abuse disorders, and it is the public health issue versus criminal justice issue. Do we treat substance abuse and addiction as a criminal justice issue where we incarcerate these individuals, or do we treat it as a public health issue where we treat these individuals and send them into medical institutions? Despite these debates, though, 15 states and DC has legalized recreational and medicinal marijuana, and an additional 20 states has allowed the medical use of it. Just in the past November 2020 general election, every cannabis measure passed, from conservative states like Mississippi to bluer states like New Jersey. The New York State Senate passed the bill to legalize recreational marijuana just yesterday on March 30th, and their governor signed the bill today on March 31st. But despite these legalizations across state lines, marijuana is still illegal on the federal level.